Let's talk some winners and losers from yesterday's preseason game against the Giants. And there isn't a lot of winners, but there are a lot of losers that we'll get into on today's show, presented by Prize Picks. There is no bigger winner than Dolphins fans when it comes to wide receiver Chris Bell. I wanted to include this injury update for you guys because Jeff Hafley said after the game that Bell is close to returning to full practice. He actually went through pregame warmups yesterday in full uniform. I'm talking pads, I'm talking everything. Ultimately took off the pads and watched from the sideline for the game, but it just shows you after being at practice on Tuesday and ramping up here, I would expect him to be at practice this week in full pads at some point, and I think the hope is he is playing next Friday in the preseason finale against the Atlanta Falcons. The third-round pick out of Louisville, I think, is really, really close to being able to get on that football field. Is he going to be a contributor week 1 against the Raiders? Probably not. But week 2, week 3, very much in play. Big week of football ahead for the Dolphins with the final preseason game, roster cutdown day, a week from today, next Sunday. Subscribe today to be in the know with everything Miami Dolphins. But one of the biggest winners from the second preseason game is another rookie wide receiver, and that is Coleman Jr. He played a lot in this game. He was targeted quite a bit. He ended up hauling in 2 catches, 32 yards. The highlight was the 30-yarder. Very similar to Caleb Douglas in the preseason opener a week ago. He ran a slot fade on 3rd and 5, had one-on-one coverage, got a shot from the QB, hauled in a one-handed reception for 30 yards, and there was a flag on the play for defensive pass interference. Now, the impressive part to me was he did have Drew Phillips draped all over him. Drew Phillips, by the way, is the starting nickel corner for the New York Giants. So this is a starting corner in the NFL that Coleman made that one-handed grab against. Coleman was targeted a lot early in this game. On the first drive of the game, Dolphins went 3 and out, but Cam Miller tried to throw it to Coleman on the sideline on a bootleg, and then he tried on 3rd down to fit it through a tight window over the middle of the field that was a borderline hospital ball. The point I'm trying to make is Cam Miller felt comfortable throwing to Coleman Jr. KC made an acrobatic, incredible one-handed grab. In my case, that's stock up for Coleman Jr. I think he's one of the best 3 wide receivers on this Dolphins roster. Right now, I think it's Douglas, Washington, Coleman as your 3 best wide receivers, but I don't know if you could play Coleman and Washington on the field together. Another winner, linebacker Jackson Woodard. Now, the linebacker recovered a fumble in the first half. Did he create the fumble? No. Tyrone Tracy literally just coughed it up as they were looking to punch in a second touchdown in the opening half. But Woodard was there to make the play. That's not why he was a winner, though. Is it nice that he was able to jump on the loose ball and come away with it in a dog pile? Yeah, absolutely. But I thought he made some real nice plays in the first half in the run game. And he got a lot of reps in this game, too. Because in the second half, you saw a lot of Willie Gay. You saw a lot of Cam Riley and Dix at linebacker. So Woodard wasn't really playing that much in the late 3rd, 4th quarter. He played a lot in the first half, though. Kind of tells me that Woodard is someone that the Dolphins feel intrigued by more than some of these other linebackers. Am I going to say he makes the 53-man? Certainly might help him, as bad as it is, that Trey Moore's banged up. Because if Moore isn't going to be ready to go for week 1, and the Dolphins ultimately have to carry him through the 53-man roster and then place him on an IR after the fact, they might like Woodard as a 5th linebacker if Moore's hurt. I think he had a good day on Saturday and certainly helped his case with 1 week to go to make this 53-man roster, or at least be someone the Dolphins want to keep around on the practice squad. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks, Daily Fantasy Sports. Super easy. We play it every day. All you do is pick more or less on at least 2-player stat projections, and you can make watching these football games and any sport so much more interesting and make money off of it as well. You can play daily. You can play season long. There's so many different ways to play Prize Picks, which is why it is so fun. We lost our lineup on the game yesterday, unfortunately, but we've had this season-long entry placed for a while now. More on Devon Achane rushing yards, more on Brock Bowers receiving yards, and more on Will Anderson 11 sacks. I feel pretty good about this three-player lineup. You can join me and the rest of the Chat Sports crew on Prize Picks today, see all of our picks on the social feeds feature, and unlock a new user offer where if you win your first $5 lineup, you get $150 in bonus lineups. That is only available when you sign up and use code HMA. Links in the description and comments of today's show. Another winner, and this is not a specific player, but I'll give the Dolphins special teams unit a little bit of credit. Really good field goal from Riley Patterson, made a 52-yarder that would have been good from 60. He doesn't have the strongest leg, so for him to boot one through that would have been good from 60, that was really impressive to me. Bradley Pinion was up and down as a punter today. He punted 7 times, which is just ridiculous. Had an average of 45.4, that's fine, and a long of 57 with 2 pins inside the 20. Now, I say that's fine because Bradley Pinion actually had a shank and a punt that only went 20 yards. So if you take away the shank for 20 yards, his average punt today would have been 6 for 258. That's damn near 50 a pop. That's pretty dang good for Bradley Pinion. But on the kick return game, Jalen Reagor, 2 for 57, 28.5 average. Jaylen Wright, 2 for 56, 28-yard average. Tutu Atwell had one back for 27 yards. A.J. Henning didn't have a good return, but Atwell, Wright, and Reagor, they had some pretty good lanes to run in the kick return game. I thought the special teams outside of the Taj Washington muffed punt and the one shanked Bradley Pinion punt was pretty good. Surprisingly, the special teams unit has been noted as good in practice as well. The number one loser, maybe not number one, but to lead us off here, is running back Jaylen Wright. I'm really disappointed in Jaylen. And it's not because he struggled finding running lanes. No, all the running backs struggled today. Although 6 carries for 9 yards, not ideal for the third-year running back. The reason why I'm disappointed in Jaylen Wright is because it's pretty clear to me he has a major fumbling problem. Fumbled as a rookie. Last year in the preseason, fumbled twice. Fumbled in the regular season finale against the Patriots. I've said, listen, he's got to keep care of the football because right now I'm close to saying this dude has a fumbling issue. And then he comes in and literally fumbles on first contact on a third down where they were just trying to run the football to stay in field goal range on 3rd and 12 in the first half to put up points for the first time. But no, he coughs it up, not even on a really strong play from a defender, just on first contact. Jaylen Wright, it's been abundantly clear to me, he has a fumbling problem and an issue securing the football. And the truth is, you can be as athletic, you can be as fast, and you could be as good of a blocker as you want to be at that running back position. But if you can't be counted on to keep care of the football and not put it on the ground, you are unplayable. I consider Jaylen Wright borderline unplayable at this point because of his fumbling problems. Ollie Gordon got banged up with an injury. We'll know more about that hopefully soon. But OG would be my second running back to get called up to Devon Achane because I do not trust Jaylen Wright to keep the football secure, and that is job number 1 for a running back. Number 2 is Tutu Atwell. This guy, see ya. Like, I don't want Tutu Atwell on this roster no longer. Dolphins signed him in free agency, first week really of free agency. I was intrigued by the move because he had a good year 2-3 years ago in LA, then was moved down the depth chart because of adding Devontae Adams, amongst others. I was like, all right, maybe you can find some untapped potential in Atwell, who's been a big play guy in the past. He has yet to make a catch through 2 preseason games. And I get the backup quarterback play is bad, but Atwell had 2 targets in the first quarter of this game. And he was unable to bring down both of them. The first one was a relatively fine slant. Good ball by Cam Miller on 3rd down. Wouldn't have picked up the first down. It was 3rd and 15. It was a 6-7 yard slant. But he just flat out dropped it. And then Miller put it a bit behind him, and it was a really tough catch, but Atwell was unable to haul it in, got his hands on it, really tough, but can't catch it. Tutu Atwell is not, at this point, what we've seen an NFL wide receiver. He hasn't been good in practice. He's been bad in the games. There is no reason to roster Tutu Atwell. And I got to be honest, I don't know what Miami's going to do. There are not more than 5 wide receivers deserving of a roster spot. There isn't. You have the 3 rookies, Jalen Tolbert, Malik Washington. Everybody else, see ya. Maybe the Dolphins keep one through 53-man roster day and then release them when they pick up a different guy that was waived or released on cutdown day. Tutu Atwell is freaking terrible. Both backup quarterbacks are going to be on the loser list. Was Cam Miller better this week than his preseason debut? Absolutely. Like, significantly better. But that wasn't hard to do, considering it was the worst display of quarterbacking I ever saw last week. Miller had the 130-yard completion. It was a good throw. I give him credit. It was a good throw to Kevin Coleman Jr. as he hauled it in on a one-hander. But outside of that throw, he is then 5 for 10, so 50% completion percentage, and only 30 yards. Not very good. In a couple of those completions, one was a 10-yard halfback screen to Ollie Gordon, and one was a 2-yard screen to Kevin Coleman. So if you take away the screens, then it gets pretty ugly. And now you're talking about a quarterback that I know you're taking things away, but you're taking away the one-handed catch, the 2 screens, and that is 3 completions for 44 yards. And that's basically his entire day. He missed a couple throws. First drive, hospital ball to Kevin Coleman Jr. Can't happen. Threw behind Tutu Atwell on that one. I think Atwell had the ability to make a catch for a first down if it was an accurately thrown ball, but it wasn't. It was behind him, and he dropped it in a crowd. Cam Miller wasn't good today. Did have a nice run for about, 17-yard run, but got sacked a couple times. I think both sacks were on him. He wasn't good. Mark Gronowski confirmed everything that I thought. Get him out of the NFL. 2 completions for 1 yard. He didn't have much to work with, but every time he throws the football, it's wobbly. It's not accurate. I don't want to harp on it too much. I've said my piece on Mark Gronowski the last month. He is not an NFL quarterback, and it's actually unacceptable to roster him at this point. Charlie Heck, loser. Started at left tackle today, abysmal. I think on the first drive, he got blown up and driven right into Cam Miller's lap a couple times. He was responsible for a sack. He was responsible for the biggest run of the day, by the way. Ollie Gordon had a great run up the middle. Good block by DJ Campbell, the 6th-rounder out of Texas. He had a gain of 10, 11 yards, called back because of a holding from Charlie Heck, which, by the way, just didn't have to be necessary, considering it was a run in between the 2 guards, and Heck is outside. And it wasn't like he was crashing and pulling inside. It was just a straight-up push your man he's holding, and it's going up the middle. Ridiculous. Charlie Heck, he's been awful in training camp. He was awful yesterday in the preseason game. He was bad in the opening preseason game. This is a real common phrase that we've said, but the Dolphins have no depth. If a starter goes down, there is not one backup that you feel good about. Heck, nope. Anybody in the secondary? Nope. Edge rushers? Nope. And that brings us right into the next point. Dolphins pass rush. It was bad today. We had 1 sack, I believe. It was in the second half. And it was a combined sack for Seth Coleman-Lyles and Cam Rice, 2 players signed this week. But did we hear anything from Max Llewellyn today? No. Did we hear anything from David Ajabu today? No. And that comes, by the way, where they were starters. Chop Robinson, Josh Uche didn't play. Cleveland Farrell, Robert Beal banged up. So you got a lot of opportunity as a 7th-round pick, Max Llewellyn, and a veteran trying to make this 53-man roster in David Ojabo, who actually had a good week last week against the Commanders. But I don't remember saying one good thing about David Ojabo, one good thing about Max Llewellyn. It was not a good day for the Dolphins pass rush. Jameis Winston in the first half had all day to throw. They only got one big pressure play in the second half. It was a despicable performance from that Dolphins pass rush, headlined by Max Llewellyn and David Ojabo. Disappointing. Who is the biggest Dolphins loser from yesterday? Honestly, Jaylen Wright was the first one we talked about. I think it's Tutu Atwell. He is so far beyond cooked. There is just no way you can have him on the 53-man roster a week from now. And if he is on the 53-man roster, I think it's only because they're going to cut him 2 days later when they ultimately claim someone off of waivers and need a body to get rid of. It's the only way I could see Tutu Atwell on the roster next week. That's going to do it for today's show. Any roster move that does get made over the next week, we always got you covered on the channel, but also on social media. Go follow us over on Instagram and Twitter, at Dolphins Today IG, at Nick_Roloff. See you over there.